The MTG banned and restricted announcement was today, and it was a doozy. Kicking it off in standard, there were 7 total cards banned. There's Corey Steelcutter, Abuelo's Awakening, Monstrous Rage, Heartfire Hero, Up the Beanstalk, Hopeless Nightmare, and This Town Ain't Big Enough. And it wasn't. It's gone. It's out. Most of the reasoning for Corey Steelcutter is just how many players used it to bring Izzet prowess to the Pro Tour. The card forced the deck to a 42% meta share, and with mono red, held all of the spots in the top 8. Almost every deck has to prepare to survive against it, and they will get that matchup if almost half the field is playing it. Off-meta cards like Magebane Lizard were required to overcome the deck, which might be the only reason it didn't take the top spot at Pro Tour Final Fantasy. The second most popular deck is also getting its wings clipped. Azorius Omniscience could end you just as quickly as Izzet Prowess in mono red if they were holding the nuts at the start of the game. As long as they got the 4 mana and had Omniscience in the yard and Ablail's Awakening to recur it, the game was almost certainly over. There's a chance that you can remove the first Omniscience, but really good players always use their priority after casting the first one to cast the second copy and just take over. So Wizards is banning Abuelo's Awakening. Turn 4 wins just weren't fun for most people, and Control is the archetype that most players dislike playing against, so I'm not surprised to see this deck get handcuffed. Monstrous Rage gets a lot less words than the other cards, but Wizards was excited to have the combat trick become such a popular and useful card. However, it's the granting of Trample that they view as the biggest reason to cut this card versus Turn Inside Out or Felonious Rage. The other cards still let you block effectively in the game, where Monstrous Rage was just running people over. Another red card being banned is Heartfire Hero. It's too powerful against the decks that can't manage to run temporary lockdown, and lockdown itself is rotating out before the next Pro Tour, so Heartfire Hero is banned. Up the Beanstalk is our next victim. Having been banned in Modern already, this card was being watched, but several other offenders had been waiting along with it. The card draw and difficult means of removal meant that the card was too powerful against most other decks that couldn't do anything to prepare for it. Wizards also explains that the card was not fun for players to even build a deck around, because you just searched for any card that was expensive but also had cost reduction, so you could play it early and trigger up the Beanstalk. They also state that some of his cost reduction cards are coming in new sets and would have made up the Beanstalk even more powerful. Hopeless Nightmare is getting banned for just not being fun. Discard and damage wrapped into a single card that you get to recur frequently wasn't helping anyone have a good time against it. This Town Ain't Big Enough is our last victim. It's getting the boot purely for its late game play loop and can establish with Storm Chaser's talent. Eventually, you have enough mana to run the loop every turn and just keep bouncing your opponent's threats, and then you recur Storm Chaser's talent, and this town ain't big enough to hand. Wizards also explains that in their internal review of standards since changing to a 3-year rotation, that 1 mana cards have been their biggest design misses. Secondly, their recent low-cost enchantments and artifacts have been difficult for many decks to deal with, and they will continue to evaluate cards based on their interaction as well. They also state that the next ban announcement for Standard will probably be in about 9 months, and only 2 ban windows for the next rotation cycle. Pioneer has no changes. Corey Steelcutter is making waves in Izzet Phoenix, but not enough for a ban. Terra Magical Adept is starting to see play, but not overpowering anything yet. They are going to ban Tybalt's Trickery and Best of 1 Pioneer on MTG Arena, though. Modern has no changes due to the ongoing Modern RCQ season, but Wizards does opine about how they feel about Modern. Corey Steelcutter is also present in Modern, but other new cards like Ketramos the New Dawn are also mixing up decks and causing their own shifts. Even a new archetype in Gruul Broodscale is emerging. There are no changes to Legacy. Wizard feels that the format is very healthy right now, with all of the decks having the potential to take a win in any event. And if you've got time, go check out the Oops All Spells deck in Legacy. It's a fun one to try to understand. There are no changes to Vintage. Lurrus of the Dream Den was a target previously, but Wizards is confident that recent deck building has kept Lurrus competitive, and they expect that Tezzeret Cruel Captain will also ensure Lurrus doesn't dominate the metagame. There are no changes to Pauper. There are calls to ban High Tide, and Wizards lays out that the card isn't winning too much in Popular, and loses handily to the top meta decks. They do acknowledge that the card is just unfun to play against with the way it takes forever to resolve. Alchemy is suspending Corey Steelcutter until it can be rebalanced for Alchemy on MTG Arena. In Historic, Counterspell is unbanned. Creature and enchantment strategies are at the forefront of Historic, and Control needed more tools to deal with them. There are no changes in Timeless either. Plenty of changes have been made to the meta for Timeless to deal with Goblin Charbelcher, and no changes were needed. There are no changes to Brawl on MTG Arena. There are over 100 new commanders released with Final Fantasy, so it'll take some time to shuffle out what's happening there. Also, Sheldred survives just to be rotated. But thanks for watching, everyone. and take care.